The Phase 3 massage enhances the flow of lymphatic fluid along the pathways, reducing puffiness and improving skin clarity. Perform the lymphatic drainage technique. During the lymphatic drainage technique, you use the pads of your fingers and palms to gently stretch the skin toward the lymph nodes and a pumping movement to optimize the flow of lymphatic fluid along the pathways. The lymph nodes are stimulated in a strategic sequence: axilla, clavicle, parotid, and water wheel, to accommodate the increased flow of lymphatic fluid. Overlapping bilateral hand positions and repetition are most effective. Position your hands on either side of the axilla, where the arm and torso meet. Use the index, middle, and ring fingers of both hands to perform 3 circular movements at the axilla region, applying slightly more pressure on the inward and upward strokes. Transition to the midline of the décolleté. Use the pads of both palms to stretch the skin and pump across the décolleté to the axilla. Transition to the midline. Use the pads of both hands and pump across to the axilla to cover the entire décolleté area. Transition to the medial ends of the clavicles. Contour your hands in the hollows of the clavicles on either side of the sternal notch, and pump in a medial and inferior direction toward the sternal notch several times. Moving laterally with each subsequent position, continue to pump in a medial and inferior direction to cover the entire clavicle area. Transition to the midline of the base of the neck. Pump in an inferior direction toward the clavicles. Moving superiorly with each subsequent position, continue to pump in an inferior direction toward the clavicles to cover the entire neck area. Transition to behind the earlobes. Pump in an inferior direction down the neck toward the clavicles. Pump in a medial and inferior direction along the clavicles toward the sternal notch to cover the entire clavicle area. Transition to the midline of the mandible. Pump along the underside of the mandible to the earlobes and down the sides of the neck, ending at the clavicles. Transition to the midline of the chin. Pump across the lower cheek toward the earlobes. Transition to the corner of the mouth. Pump across the cheeks toward the earlobes. Transition to the midline of the upper lip. Pump across the cheeks toward the middle of the ears. Transition to the flare of the nostrils. Pump across the cheeks toward the middle of the ears. Transition to the sides of the nose. Pump across the cheeks toward the upper ears. Transition to the midline of the forehead. Pump across the forehead toward the temples. Pump down the sides of the face, behind the ears, and down the neck, ending at the clavicles.